All right, let's take a look at our Excel. So you had different trials. All right, now I'm not going to type 1 through 8. I'm going to type 1. I'm going to type equals A2, because that's the cell we were just in, plus 1. All right, so you can see A2 is blue. It highlighted that cell blue. Hit enter. Now it says 2. I'm going to click over here. I'm going to watch my cursor turn to the different plus sign, and I can drag down. All right, 8 trials. All right, you're going to do mass. All right, so let's say you had 9.8 and 10.1, 9.7, 9.9, 10.2, 10.1 again. Let's do 10.0 and 9.9 again. All right, so there's some mass measurements. Now, notice Excel lost the point 0 over here. So I'm going to highlight this whole bank of cells. I'm going to right click. I'm going to go to Format Cells. I'm going to choose Number, 1 decimal point. Boom, there's my 1 decimal point back. Okay, so now we need the average or our mean. So we're going to do equals AVERAGE. We're going to do cell B2 all the way down to cell B9. So I put the colon in between there so it knows to select that whole range. Close my parentheses. Again, notice how these are blue and this whole thing is blue. I'll hit enter. Hey, cool. I made up numbers and I got a mean of 10 again. So now we need our deviations. So remember, your deviation is going to be each individual measurement minus the mean. So we're going to do equals. Okay, our first measurement is in cell B2 minus our mean. Now what we want to do is we want to make sure that we keep that mean in that same cell. So if I do $B, $11, notice how this turned 11 and it highlighted the cell. I mean, this turned red and it highlighted the cell in red. So once we do that, the dollar signs mean that Excel is not going to change that cell when we drag it down. So I'm going to hit enter, click. Again, I'm going to wait till it changes to that little plus, drag it down. And you can see as I check each cell, we've changed from each of those cells, but the B11 never changed. Okay. Just to practice with Excel, we'll go ahead and do that absolute value. Actually, we can do, okay, so we'll do ABS, colon, C2, close parenthesis, enter. Now we will drag it down. Now it may look a little funky. My deviation is negative 0.2, but my absolute value is 0.1625. Well, let's take a look here. If I were to highlight these and I were to tell this to give me more decimal places, look, as I go out to more decimal places, there's that 0.1625. This had rounded it off to the 0.2. We're going to go ahead and leave it rounded off to that 1 decimal point. So for my deviations, I'm going to drag down. I'm going to do the same thing. Format cell. We're going to go ahead and truncate you to that same 1 decimal point. Okay, now we need the deviation squared. When we use these programs, we do need to format correctly. So I'm going to highlight just the number 2 up here in the formula bar. I'm going to right click, format cell, superscript, and only that 2 superscripted. Okay, equal sign, we want cell D2 raised to the 2nd power. Okay, and so that'll square that. Really big number. So we'll highlight our cells, we'll right click, we'll format cells, and we'll go ahead and we'll keep 3 decimal places there. That's a little bit better. Okay. In order to get your standard deviation, you need to do your deviation squared added up, the summation of them. So what you're going to do is you'll hit equals, actually I'll put it over here, equals SUM Same sort of thing that we did with the mean, we're gonna do a colon. I'm gonna do E2 colon E9, close parentheses, and that'll sum everything in cells E2 to E9. And there's the sum that you'll use. So remember your formula when you have that square root of the summation of the deviation squared. Here is your summation of the deviation squared is right here. So I'll go ahead and do that. And that's what would go on the top of that. Now, once we're done with this experiment and we need standard deviations from here on out, you don't need to show me stepwise how to do all your standard deviations. Equals STDEV parentheses B2 colon B9 close parentheses. That's going to return the standard deviation of my mass values. There's my standard deviation right there. So after this experiment, you are more than welcome to do a standard deviation how I just showed you right there. For this experiment, though, I do need to see all of this. I do need to see that you've plugged in the sum of the deviation squared into that equation, because I need to know that you understand where all these numbers are coming from. If you want to double check your standard deviation with this, you're more than welcome to, but I do need to see your full-on standard deviation there. And then if I wanted to copy this into Word, I could highlight it all and do a Control C. I can add in some, borders and things to make it look better. Let's see here. Yeah, I could do all of that. Highlight it, do a Control C, and then once I was in Word, I can then do a Control V, and I can do my appropriate titles and all of those other things. Okay? So hopefully that helps you with some basics on Excel.